Fire pops low beside me. Wood creaks. Coffee's gone cold in my hand. Out there it's quiet. Too quiet. And every man who's walked off a battlefield knows this truth. Leaving the war doesn't mean the war leaves you. Sometimes silence is louder than gunfire. I learned that the hard way. You build a safe zone. You tell yourself the fight is over. Then one night, something ugly knocks anyway. Tonight, it wasn't a door. It was a red carpet in Denver. Cameras, power, a razor blade hidden in plain sight, a woman about to be broken for sport, and a service dog named Titan who smelled the lie before anyone else did. So let me ask you, brother, when the trap snaps shut and you're pinned in the open, do you run or do you hold the line? Sit down with me. Let me tell you what happens when monsters expect silence and meet a guardian instead. Snow before the red carpet. Snow drifted lightly over downtown Denver, thin and dry, carried by a mountain wind that cut between glass towers and old brick facades, reminding everyone that winter was not decoration, but reality. The lights outside the Whitmore Hotel burned warm and gold against the cold. Strings of white bulbs framed the entrance. Red carpet rolled out like a promise. Cameras clustered behind metal barriers. Voices overlapped. Laughter sounded sharp in the air. Ryan Carter stood a few steps back from the crowd, just far enough to be unseen. He wore a red and black flannel shirt beneath a dark work jacket, the flannel faded at the cuffs from years of washing. His jeans were plain. His boots were scuffed but clean. At 40, his body still carried the width and strength of a former Navy SEAL, tall and broad-shouldered, though his left leg dragged just enough to notice if one looked closely. A faint stiffness followed every step, the kind that never fully left. Beside him sat his dog. The German Shepherd was 5 years old, black and tan, large and steady, ears upright and eyes alert. A black harness wrapped his chest, the white lettering clear and unmistakable. Service dog, do not pet. The dog's name was Titan, and he did not move unless Ryan moved first. Ryan scanned the entrance, not with curiosity, but with habit. He watched hands, not faces. He listened to tone more than words. Crowds made him uneasy. Too many variables. Too much noise hiding intent. Tonight was simple. Contract security. Standby support. No trouble. Get paid. Go home. He told himself that, but Titan's posture told a different story. The dog's head tilted slightly, nose lifting toward the air near the side corridor that fed into the main entrance. Titan did not growl. He did not pull. He simply watched. Ryan noticed. Inside the black sedan pulling up to the carpet, Claire Whitmore drew a slow breath and held it. She was 35, tall and slim, with sharp features softened by careful makeup. Her dark hair was styled into a smooth, elegant sweep at the nape of her neck. The gown she wore was champagne-colored, fitted perfectly to her waist and hips, expensive without shouting its price. Claire had built her life the same way she wore her clothes. Precise, controlled, nothing loose. She was the CEO of Whitmore & Co., a retail empire with stores across the country and a board that watched her every move. Tonight mattered. A partnership announcement waited inside. So did men who measured her worth in quarterly reports. She stepped out of the car with practiced grace, smiling for the cameras as if warmth could be rehearsed. The crowd leaned in. That was when the sound cut through the noise. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft, unmistakable rip. Claire felt it before she heard it. A sudden release of tension at her waist. a breath of cold air where fabric should have been. Her hand moved instinctively, fingers closing over the side of her gown. Her smile froze. The cameras caught everything. Whispers rolled through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. Someone laughed, then stopped. Flashbulbs exploded. Claire's chest tightened. She felt the old fear rise, sharp and humiliating. Not fear of being seen, but fear of being exposed. From the edge of the security line, Ryan saw the change in the crowd's posture. He followed the line of sight. He saw the tear. It was clean. Too clean. Titan stood. The dog's body went rigid, eyes locked on a narrow space behind the cluster of stylists rushing forward. His nose flared once. Twice. Ryan's hand dropped to Titan's harness, grounding both of them. "Easy," he murmured. Near the carpet, a woman stepped forward quickly. Vanessa Cole was in her early 40s, slim, sharp-eyed, her dark blazer buttoned tight. A headset curled around one ear. Her fingers moved fast over her phone, even as her gaze calculated angles and damage. "Inside, now," she whispered urgently, her voice controlled but thin. "We can fix this inside." Claire barely heard her. Her ears rang. She could feel the weight of eyes, of judgment, of expectation. Every mistake she had ever been warned about stood right here, ripping open in front of her. Ryan took one step forward. "Give me 30 seconds, he said, voice calm, not raised. Claire turned, startled, and saw a man in flannel and work boots, a dog at his side. Not PR, not fashion, not someone who belonged on the carpet. "Please," she said, the word clipped and cold. "Step away." The dismissal landed harder than she intended. Ryan stopped. He saw the panic behind her eyes. He saw pride fighting it. He understood both, but Titan did not look at Claire. Titan watched a young man slipping backward through the edge of the crowd, his shoulders tense, his hand pressed tight to his coat pocket. Titan moved. Not fast, not aggressive. Just one clean step into the man's path. The man stumbled. Something small and metallic hit the carpet and skittered under the lights. For one suspended second, everything went quiet. Ryan's gaze dropped to the object on the ground. Thin. Sharp. Instant regret flickered across Claire's face as understanding struck. She had waved away the one person who had noticed the danger before it showed itself. Titan sat, eyes steady. Ryan exhaled slowly. The night had just changed. 30 seconds of silence. The wind sharpened as clouds thickened above the hotel, snow spinning faster under the lights. The cold pressing closer, as if the night itself sensed something had gone wrong. For half a breath, the red carpet forgot how to move. The object lay near the edge of the fabric, small and gleaming. A thin razor blade, clean, deliberate. It reflected the flash of cameras before a security boot slid over it, hiding it from view. But the damage was done. Enough eyes had seen it. Enough questions had already formed. Claire Whitmore stood frozen on the bottom step, one hand still gripping the torn edge of her gown. Her heart hammered so loudly she was sure the microphones could hear it. The tear felt wider now, heavier. Not just fabric. Control. Image. Safety. Her gaze found the man she had dismissed. Ryan Carter had not moved closer, but he had not stepped away either. The red and black flannel beneath his jacket was visible now, the colors muted but unmistakable. His face was calm in a way that irritated people who were used to power. His left leg bore more weight than it should, but he held himself steady. Beside him, Titan sat squarely, black harness straight, service dog, do not pet, catching the light. Ryan met Claire's eyes without judgment. He had seen fear like this before, stripped of rank and titles. He knew it well. Vanessa Cole reacted first. She was already moving, heels clicking sharp against stone as she leaned toward Claire, her voice low and urgent. "We need to bring you inside, now. Every second out here multiplies risk." Her eyes flicked briefly to Ryan and the dog, irritation flashing. This was not in the plan. Nothing about tonight was supposed to surprise her. Security tightened around the perimeter. A few guards shifted, unsure who they were protecting from whom. Ryan stepped forward again, just one pace. "Give me 30 seconds, he said. His voice was even, not loud. It cut through the noise because it did not compete with it. Claire swallowed. She felt the weight of eyes again. Board members, donors, reporters who would replay this moment frame by frame. She had trained herself never to show hesitation. But hesitation lived in her chest now, raw and exposed. "What are you proposing?" she asked, her tone clipped but shaking beneath the surface. "I can fix it," Ryan said. Vanessa let out a short, disbelieving breath. "You are security." "I used to work with my hands," Ryan replied. He did not explain further. Titan shifted slightly closer to Claire, positioning himself between her and the crowd without touching her. The dog's presence was quiet, but commanding. People instinctively stepped back half a pace. Something in Claire's resistance cracked. 30 seconds. That was all she had left anyway. "Clear the cameras," she said suddenly, surprising even herself. Vanessa stared. "Claire!" 30 seconds, Claire repeated. Her voice was steadier now. It had found something to stand on. Security moved, coats lifted, bodies formed a rough wall. It was imperfect, but it bought space. Ryan knelt. Up close, he studied the tear with the focus of a surgeon. The line of the rip, the tension points, how the fabric had been stressed before it failed. Silk blend, satin weave, a deliberate cut followed by pressure. If he tried to pull it together, it would split wider. Claire watched his hands. They were scarred and steady, the hands of someone who had fixed worse things under worse conditions. She felt herself breathing again, slow and shallow, matching his rhythm. "Do not look down," Ryan said quietly. "Look forward, shoulders back." She obeyed without thinking. For the first time in years, she let someone else direct her. Ryan reached into his jacket pocket. He carried a small kit, worn and practical. Scissors, tape, clips. Nothing fancy. The kind of tools people underestimated until it was too late. He did not patch the tear. He cut. Vanessa gasped softly. "You are making it worse." "I am making it intentional," Ryan replied. He trimmed the damaged edge into a clean, decisive line, then extended it into an angled slit across the hip. The motion was controlled, confident. Titan watched without moving, eyes scanning the perimeter. Claire felt the panic in her chest change shape. It turned into focus, into trust she had not given freely in a long time. Ryan finished quickly. He secured the inner layer, adjusted the fall of the fabric. "Walk slower," he said. "Let the dress settle." He stood and stepped back. The tear was gone. In its place was a bold cut, sharp and deliberate, It looked designed. The barrier parted. Light hit Claire again. This time, the silence that followed was different. Inside the entrance, two men watched from just beyond the glass doors. Logan Price stood with a whiskey in hand. Tall, broad through the shoulders, his silvered hair combed perfectly into place. His smile was practiced, but his eyes were cold. He had spent decades turning leverage into currency. Beside him, Grant Hale adjusted the cuff of his tailored jacket. Younger, handsome, stylish. His confidence bordered on arrogance. He knew fabric, he knew lines, and he knew that what he had just seen was not luck. "That was not supposed to happen," Grant murmured. Logan did not answer right away. He watched Claire lift her chin and step forward, cameras now flashing with admiration instead of mockery. "No," Logan said at last. "It was not." Outside, Ryan already turned away. His job was done. He did not wait for thanks. Titan rose and followed him, boots crunching softly against snow as they headed toward the side corridor. Behind them, the night buzzed with new stories. None of them were finished yet. Footsteps behind the glass. Snow pressed harder against the windows now, the flakes thicker, heavier, muffling the city's noise as if Denver itself were holding its breath. Ryan Carter moved through the side corridor with measured steps, the red and black flannel visible beneath his open jacket. His left leg protested slightly, a dull reminder of old damage, but he ignored it. Pain like that was familiar. What bothered him more was the feeling settling in his gut. This had not been an accident. Titan walked at his side, head low, nose working the air. The black harness hugged the dog's frame, the words "service dog, do not pet," flashing briefly as they passed under security lights. Titan's tail was still, focused, working. Behind them, the gala surged back to life. Music rose. Applause broke out in waves. To anyone watching the broadcast, the crisis had already become a triumph. Ryan knew better. Triumphs built on lies always cracked. He reached the service junction where electrical panels lined the wall. The smell hit him first. Metal. Oil. Something sharp and wrong. Titan stopped. The dog's ears angled forward. He sniffed once, then looked up at Ryan. Permission. Ryan crouched slowly, easing pressure off his bad leg, and scanned the floor. A trash bin sat crooked near the wall, nudged out of place. He moved it aside with his boot. A small canvas pouch lay tucked behind it. Ryan opened the bag. Inside was a second razor blade, identical to the first, and a scrap of champagne-colored fabric. The same weave, the same sheen. His jaw tightened. Someone had planned for failure and backup. "This was staged," he muttered. Titan huffed softly, as if agreeing. Ryan stood and slipped the pouch into his jacket. Evidence mattered, but timing mattered more. Whoever had done this would not stop with a torn dress. They would pivot. People like that always did. He started down the corridor toward the rear access hall. That was when he heard voices. They drifted from behind a glass service door, low and controlled. Ryan slowed, positioning himself in the shadow of a support column. Titan sat without being told. Inside the glassed-in hallway stood two men. Logan Price was impossible to miss. Mid-50s, tall, shoulders still broad under a tailored coat, silver hair immaculate. He held himself like a man accustomed to rooms bending around him. Power had softened him physically and hardened him everywhere else. Across from him stood Grant Hale. Grant was in his early 30s, lean, sharp-featured, dressed in a fashion-forward suit that hugged his frame perfectly. His hair was styled just messy enough to look effortless. His confidence bordered on arrogance. He had talent, but talent alone had never satisfied him. Ryan could not hear every word through the glass, but he did not need to. Grant's voice was tense. "You said it would break her," Logan answered calmly, his expression barely shifting. "It did not break her because someone interfered." Grant's jaw tightened. "That man, security, he was not supposed to be there." "No," Logan said. "But he is there now." Grant glanced back toward the ballroom, irritation flickering across his face. The narrative slipped. Logan's eyes hardened. "Then we correct it." Ryan felt something cold settle behind his ribs. He had heard this tone before, long ago, in rooms where lives were reduced to acceptable losses. He eased back, careful not to make a sound. When he turned, Titan was already watching the opposite end of the corridor. Footsteps approached. A young man appeared, barely out of his 20s, slim build, nervous energy clinging to him like static. He wore a staff badge clipped to his jacket, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. His eyes darted when he saw Ryan. "Sir," the young man said too quickly, "you cannot be back here." Ryan studied him. Pale skin, sweat at the hairline despite the cold. The kind of tension that came from fear, not authority. "What is your name?" Ryan asked. The man hesitated. Evan Brooks." Evan Brooks, Grant's assistant. Ryan had seen him earlier near the wardrobe area, hovering too close for comfort. Titan stepped forward half a pace. Evan froze. "I just follow instructions," Evan blurted. "I do not want trouble." Ryan's voice stayed level. "Then stop creating it." Before Evan could respond, a radio crackled at the end of the hall. "Security to service level 3, a voice barked. "We have a situation." Evan flinched. His eyes flicked to the stairwell. Ryan straightened. He did not grab Evan. He did not accuse him. Not yet. "Go," Ryan said quietly. Evan did not wait. He bolted. Ryan watched him disappear, then exhaled slowly. He had seen enough. He had proof in his pocket and confirmation in his mind. Now came the dangerous part. Back in the ballroom, Claire Whitmore stood beneath the chandeliers, smiling for donors as if nothing inside her was unraveling. The altar gown moved with her, sharp and elegant. To the world, she looked unbreakable. Inside, she was shaking. She could not forget the look in Ryan Carter's eyes when she had dismissed him. She could not forget how quickly he had fixed what no one else could. Power had always protected her before. Tonight, it had nearly destroyed her. She scanned the room instinctively, searching for the man in flannel and the dog with the steady gaze. They were gone. A ripple of unease passed through her. At the edge of the ballroom, Logan Price watched her closely, his expression smooth again, his glass refilled. He raised it slightly when their eyes met. Claire's stomach tightened. Something was wrong. She could feel it now, the way one feels a storm before it arrives. In the service corridor, Ryan moved with purpose. Titan matched his pace. Whatever came next would not be quiet. But Ryan had never believed justice needed noise to land hard. The price of silence. The snow eased into a steady fall, thick flakes drifting past the hotel's tall windows, blurring the city lights and turning the night into something quiet and watchful. Inside, the ballroom glowed. Music swelled. Glasses clinked. Laughter returned with a brittle edge, like a smile held too long. To the guests, the crisis had passed. To Ryan Carter, it had only changed shape. He stood near a service doorway, the red and black flannel visible beneath his jacket, Titan seated close at his left. The dog's harness caught the light again. Service dog, do not pet, a quiet warning. Ryan's left leg ached now, the kind of ache that came when tension refused to let go. He ignored it. He was waiting. It did not take long. 2 security officers approached, their steps measured but uncertain. One was tall and broad, mid-30s, shaved head, posture rigid from habit rather than conviction. His name badge read Mark Benson. The other was younger, thinner, eyes flicking constantly, uncomfortable in a borrowed authority. "Sir," Benson said, stopping a few feet away, "we need you to come with us." "For what?" Ryan asked. Benson hesitated. "A few questions." Titan shifted, sensing the change. Ryan rested a hand lightly on the dog's harness, not to restrain him, to reassure him. "Am I being detained?" Ryan asked calmly. The younger officer swallowed. "You were seen carrying scissors on the carpet." Ryan nodded once. "I was asked to fix a problem." Benson's jaw tightened. "That is not your role." Ryan almost smiled. Almost. Before he could answer, another voice cut in. Vanessa Cole stepped toward them, heels sharp against the marble. Up close, the lines at the corners of her eyes were deeper, carved by years of crisis management. Her face was composed, but her pulse showed at her throat. "This is unnecessary," she said quickly. "We do not need another story." Ryan looked at her steadily. "You already have one." Vanessa's gaze flicked to Titan, then back to Ryan. "You did your part. Now step aside." Step aside. The phrase settled heavy in his chest. From across the room, Logan Price watched the exchange, his expression unreadable. He lifted his glass slightly toward Vanessa, a subtle signal. Control it. Grant Hale stood nearby, hands in his pockets, his smile faint and sharp. His eyes slid over Ryan with irritation and something colder beneath it. Ryan saw all of it. He reached into his jacket and felt the canvas pouch against his ribs. Evidence. Truth. The kind of thing powerful men preferred buried. "Before I go anywhere," Ryan said, "there is something the CEO needs to see." Vanessa stiffened. "Now is not the time." "It is exactly the time." A ripple moved through the guests as raised voices carried farther than intended. Phones began to lift. Not openly. Yet. Claire Whitmore noticed. She stood near the stage, accepting polite praise, but her attention snapped toward the tension at the room's edge. She saw Ryan. She saw the officers. She saw Logan watching. Something in her chest tightened. She excused herself and walked toward them, the altered gown flowing with controlled grace. Each step felt heavier than the last. She remembered being a child, taught never to make scenes, never to question men who spoke with confidence. She stopped beside Ryan. "What is happening?" she asked. Logan moved quickly now, placing himself between them, his voice smooth and paternal. "Nothing you need to worry about. A routine security matter." Ryan met Claire's eyes. He did not raise his voice. "This was not an accident," he said. "Someone tried to break you tonight." The room went quiet in the way only public spaces could. Not silent, expectant. Logan's smile thinned. "This is inappropriate." Claire's pulse hammered. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to protect the company, to protect herself. Instead, she heard herself say, "Show me." Ryan reached into his jacket and pulled out the canvas pouch. He opened it carefully, revealing the razor blade and fabric scrap. A murmur rippled through the room. Grant's face drained of color before he could hide it. "That proves nothing," Logan snapped. Ryan nodded. "Then check the cameras." Vanessa turned slowly, dread pooling in her eyes. She knew the cameras. She knew what they recorded when no one thought to look. Claire looked at her PR director, then back at Ryan. The man she had dismissed. The man who had fixed her mistake without asking for credit. "Open the security room," Claire said. Logan stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You are making this worse." Claire looked up at him, really looked. For the first time, she saw not authority, but fear. "No," she said. "I am stopping it." Security hesitated, then moved. Minutes later, the room watched as footage played across a portable monitor. Grainy but clear. Evan Brooks slipping into the wardrobe area, his hand disappearing into his pocket. Logan appearing later, speaking to Grant in a closed hallway. Their body language tense, conspiratorial. The truth unfolded without drama. It did not need any. Phones rose openly now. The narrative shifted in real time. Grant backed away, shaking his head. "This is a misunderstanding." No one listened. Logan's shoulders sagged a fraction. Just enough. Claire felt something strange settle over her. Not relief. Clarity. She turned to Ryan. "Thank you," she said. Simple. Unpolished. Real. Ryan nodded once. He did not smile. Titan sat at his side, calm as stone. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, the cost of silence had finally come due. The star above the city. Snow fell gently now, slower and softer, settling on rooftops and sidewalks, as if the city had finally exhaled after holding its breath all night. The ballroom was quieter. Not empty, but changed. Conversations had lowered. Laughter sounded careful. The music still played, yet it no longer masked anything. Truth had a way of thinning noise. Ryan Carter stood near the side exit, the red and black flannel visible beneath his jacket. Titan seated beside him like a statue carved from patience. The black harness rested solidly against the dog's chest. Service dog, do not pet, catching one last reflection from the chandeliers. Ryan's left leg throbbed now that the tension had broken. Adrenaline always did that. He welcomed the ache. Pain meant the night was ending. Across the room, Logan Price was no longer surrounded. The space around him felt hollow, like air after a storm had passed through and stripped it clean. His shoulders sagged. His authority drained away, not by shouting or force, but by exposure. Grant Hale had already been escorted out. His earlier confidence dissolved into something small and brittle. The instant regret they had planned for someone else had arrived instead for them. Claire Whitmore stood alone near the stage, her hands loosely clasped in front of her. The gown still moved beautifully, but she barely noticed it now. What filled her chest was not relief. It was something heavier and quieter. She had chosen. The cameras were still there, but they no longer frightened her. She had learned something in the space of one night that years of boardrooms had never taught her. Control was not strength. Silence was not safety. She looked toward the side exit and saw Ryan. He was already turning away. "Ryan!" she called. Her voice carried without effort. People stepped aside as she crossed the room, not because of her title, but because something in her posture had shifted. She was no longer performing. Ryan stopped. He turned slowly, mindful of his leg. Titan rose with him, alert but calm. "Yes," Ryan said. Claire stood a few feet away, close enough now to see the fine lines of exhaustion around his eyes, the wear that did not come from age, but from responsibility carried too long. "I owe you more than an apology," she said. Ryan shook his head once. "You do not owe me anything." She studied him. "You did not have to stay. You could have walked away." "So could you," he replied. The truth of that landed between them. For a moment, neither spoke. The noise of the gala faded to something distant and unimportant. "I was wrong about you," Claire said quietly. "About what matters." Ryan glanced down at Titan, then back at her. "People are wrong about a lot of things when they are scared." She let out a small breath, almost a laugh, though no humor lived in it. "I have been scared for a long time." Ryan nodded. He understood fear shaped like ambition, like armor. "I am going home," he said. "This is not my world." Claire hesitated, then reached into her clutch and pulled out a simple card. Not a contract, not an offer dressed in legal language. "If you ever want it," she said, "there is space in mine. Not for spectacle, for work that helps people." Ryan took the card, not because he planned to use it, but because refusing it would have made this moment smaller than it deserved to be. "I will think about it," he said. That was enough. Outside, the cold air wrapped around him as he stepped into the night. Snow crunched beneath his boots. Titan walked close, matching his pace, the city lights reflecting in the dog's steady eyes. Ryan did not look back. Across town, the streets were quieter, smaller, real. He reached his building just before midnight. The stairwell smelled faintly of pine cleaner and old heat. He climbed slowly, favoring his left leg without shame. Titan waited patiently at each landing. Inside his apartment, the lights were low. The room was modest, clean. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, uneven branches decorated with mismatched ornaments. At the top, the space for the star waited. Ryan set his jacket down. He removed Titan's harness and rubbed the dog's neck, gratitude passing between them without words. He climbed onto the chair carefully and placed the star. It caught the light and held it. Ryan stepped back and sat on the edge of the couch, letting the quiet settle. For the first time that night, his shoulders relaxed. A knock came at the door. 3 soft taps. Ryan frowned slightly, then stood. Titan moved to his side, calm but alert. He opened the door. Claire Whitmore stood in the hallway. No coat of armor this time. She wore a simple winter jacket, her hair loose around her shoulders. In her hands was a small box. Plain cardboard, the kind people used when they were not trying to impress anyone. "I hope this is not inappropriate," she said. "I did not want to be alone tonight." Ryan studied her for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. She entered quietly, taking in the space without judgment. The small tree, the worn couch, the star glowing softly above it all. "It is nice," she said. "It is enough," Ryan replied. They stood together in the quiet, snow falling outside, the city distant and softened. Nothing dramatic happened after that. No promises were made. No futures were declared. But something settled between them that did not need words. Outside, Denver slept under fresh snow. Above the city, the night held its peace. Sometimes the miracle does not arrive with thunder or light from the sky. Sometimes it comes quietly, through the hands of a stranger, through a choice made when fear says, "Stay silent." Faith is not always about believing that nothing will break. It is about believing that even when something breaks, God can still use it for good. In everyday life, we face moments like this more often than we realize. A chance to speak the truth. A chance to protect someone smaller. A chance to choose kindness instead of control. God's work is often hidden in ordinary places. A workplace. A cold street. A difficult decision made when no one is cheering. This story reminds us that instant regret follows pride, but instant grace follows humility. And when we trust God enough to do the right thing, even at a cost, He can turn broken moments into light. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and tell us what this message means to you. Subscribe to the channel for more stories of faith, justice, and quiet courage. May God bless you and your family, and may His peace walk with you every day.